Welcome to Mount Vernon, also known as George Washington's home. Before this became George Washington's home, this land was Hunting Creek Plantation. And it's just fascinating how people from that time period can make such a beautiful piece of land for someone to live on. Just inspires me. It's fascinating.
George Washington, the first president of the United States, lived on Mount Vernon with his wife Martha and his two stepchildren. Little Hunting Creek Plantation was originally owned by George Washington's father, Augustine, before being handed down to the eldest son, Lawrence Washington, in 1743, who changed the name to Mount Vernon during the War of Jenkins' Ear. After he died, George Washington was handed the house in 1752. The mansion has 21 rooms in which Washington constantly renovated during the Revolutionary War. Washington expanded the house to make it look more symmetrical and added structures like a cupola and the piazza, which is one of Washington's well-known contributions to colonial Virginia architecture. It's a two-story porch that overlooks the water. He had many slaves on his estate doing numerous jobs from fieldwork to housework.
Did you wish to ask any queries or curiosities? I may be of assistance.
Just what was the house like, and
Well, it is a very large mansion, that much you can see. And it 121 rooms altogether. 10 alone are bed chambers. So it's an awful lot of and beds to make and fireplaces to tend to. Chamber pots to empty out. Started today about 4 o'clock. Enter into that very large mansion by way of the kitchen. Taken with some heated water. Take it upstairs to the bed chambers. Assist who's ever in those bed chambers with their grooming needs for the day. Dressing and such. At 7 o'clock we do have the breaking of the fast meal, which is served downstairs in that dining room, and that you may or may not have seen already. General Washington likes hoe cakes with lots of honey and butter. And once I've finished assisting in the serving of that, I might help the scullery maid tidy up afterwards, and check in on the tablecloths and the napkins, seeing that everything is clean and prepared for the next meal service, reset the table, and then go about the rest of my duties and responsibilities of sweeping, polishing, mopping, dusting throughout the very large household. Once I finish that, then I'm also a skilled sewer, as you may have noticed. Okay. I'm responsible for making clothes for the slaves on this farm, as well as General Washington's other 4 farms altogether. He does have 5 farms, about 8,000 acres altogether. 3,200 of it is farmable. So he has it broken up into 5 separate farms. I'm currently making a quilt for my daughter for her natal day. Rachel. Her name is Rachel. Her natal day is approaching on the 4th of April. And so with the small portions of fabric left over from my sewing assignments, do not share this. I'm supposed to turn in the remaining portions of fabric. I'm assembling her very own blanket. I'd imagine it should be a very nice gift for her.
Slaves, as well as other workers around the house, such as blacksmiths, carpenters, and shoemakers, often lived in bunks. These bunks were vacant during the day, but crammed at the end of the workday, ranging from 10 to 20 people living in one room, with up to 2 people in one bunk. Men and women lived separately, but each had rooms similar in structure. On the estate, there were many jobs that were required in order to keep the house look appealing. These jobs included washing the clothes of the Washingtons and their guests in the wash house, keeping the garden and plants watered regularly in order to create a warm environment, making paint in order to paint the sides of the house when needed, feeding and tending the animals around the farm, providing heat in the storeroom for the long cold winters, as well as making shoes for the hundreds of slaves that lived in Mount Vernon.
Got all the Jordans in there, obviously.
Blacksmiths at Mount Vernon created different items made of iron or steel by heating them together in the furnace. Blacksmiths usually hammered or chiseled the desired metals to get the exact shape needed for their projects.
That was actual blacksmith right there.
Pretty cool.
Swear.
George Washington kept numerous vehicles at Mount Vernon for traveling. Some of his vehicles included his riding chair, which he acquired as a young man, as well as his horse-drawn wagons that were driven by his slaves.
George Washington had a lot of different animals at Mount Vernon, such as horses, cattle, and sheep.
The many animals at Mount Vernon included goats, sheep, pigs, and cattle. Goats and sheep often provided fur for clothing, cattle offered milk to make butter, and pigs provided meat. George Washington passed away on December 14, 1799, at the age of 67. The cause of his death was unknown, but he was buried at Mount Vernon 4 days after his death. He was the only president to not live in the White House. Although Mount Vernon was built and established about 300 years ago, it is still a popular landmark today and will continue to be one in the years to come. Millions of people from all around the world as well as the country still come to Mount Vernon to visit and tour the first president's historic home.